A time of 6:15, 229 miles an hour to a losing effort of 6.61.
6:15, a very creditable time. The speed of 229 indicates that he was driving it very hard. The Kuhl & Olson car performing flawlessly here. The parachute starting to deploy as he crosses the finish line. The sound that you hear in the background, the cackling in the pipes of the funny cars, and what a matchup here. Two of the greatest names in drag racing today. In the right-hand lane, the U.S. Army-sponsored Barracuda of Don the Snake Prudhomme. In the tower lane, the Plymouth Duster. In the left-hand lane, that is Tom the Mongoose McEwen, sponsored by the U.S. Navy. It's Army-Navy Ted all over again.
And a couple of good friends, too, Dave. They've been racing against each other and with each other for a long number of years.
Well over a decade of experience in both of these drivers. They are professional drag racers, and this is how they make their living. Tom McEwen in the left lane, Don Prudhomme in the right-hand lane.
Taking plenty of time to make sure everything is just perfect before they go to the line.
Prudhomme is noted for his starting line reflexes. Let's see how he does. And the jump going to McEwen, but he goes up in smoke. Prudhomme, another flawless run through the quarter mile, 6.45. It's just like clockwork. He knocks him down, 6:45 at 193 miles an hour.
Kosti Ivanov is back for this run against Al Segrini this time. Segrini in the left lane. Ivanov will be in the right lane.
Here's Kosti Ivanov against Al Segrini. Two East Coast cars, Boston, Massachusetts, and Silver Springs, Maryland. The tree goes green. They leave the starting line together.
Great race, extremely close. Kosti Ivanov, 6.56, 207 miles an hour. 6:67, the losing effort, 209 miles an hour.
That 6.56 indicates the amount of time it took that car of Kosti Ivanov to cover 1,320 feet from that standing start a quarter of a mile away to where he crosses the line right there at the finish line. The timing handled by electronic light beams across the track, and completely electronic and completely automatic.
Veteran Gene Snow back again for another run. He'll be in the lane nearest you, the tower lane, the left lane, against Tom Prock.
The crew underneath the body of Gene Snow, you see there how they lift it up. That's how they get into the engine and how the driver gets in and out of the car, frantically working around the car of Snow. But apparently everything's okay. He makes another short burnout. Tom Prock driving for Phil Castronova from Utica, New York. A very tough competitor for Gene Snow, who you see right here.
Gene Snow, a man who's been around drag racing for a number of years, a very experienced, a very veteran driver. We have pre-staging and the crews working behind, getting the vehicles prepared to follow them down the track. We have the stage. We're off, and Tom Prock having some trouble going up in smoke. No traction. Gene Snow, an easy win, 6.86. 180 miles an hour. He backed off when he saw he had the win.
That's right, Ted. The 180 miles an hour, indicating that he did not drive it all the way through the traps, shutting it off very early. You see the cloud of smoke behind Tom Prock. That means he's making a burnout, but he's making it about 10 feet on the wrong side of the starting line. Here's how they start these cars, with an electric starter attached to the supercharger. That bright red bottle you see down strapped to the chassis is the fire bottle, loaded with Freon, one on each side. In case of a fire, the driver just pushes a button. It's plumbed throughout the car to the driver's compartment, to the engine compartment in this Fireball Vega. Paul Smith driving from Boynton Beach, Florida. That in the case of a fire.
And he'll be going against John Shoemaker in the left lane.
Shoemaker using one of the unique Grand Am Pontiac bodies, while Paul Smith, seen here, is in the Chevrolet Vega.
Let's explain the starting situation, the lights there. We have pre-stage, and then the stage is 16 inches later.
Approximately 16 inches later is another light beam for the staging. Both these cars up in smoke. Here it's who can backpedal or who can get the tires to couple back up first, and it was Paul Smith. 7:21 at 193. As John Shoemaker going up in smoke, the car starting to get out of control. He headed it towards this. There you see it going towards the guardrail. He had to lift completely. Paul Smith was able to backpedal just enough to where the tires coupled back up. He carried it on through. This is the Fireball Vega from Boynton Beach, Florida. Paul Smith advancing another round in Funny Car Eliminator here at the Spring Nationals. Let's go down now into the staging lanes. Ted has another interview.
Wally, we are indeed experiencing another fantastic Spring Nationals here at National Trail.
Well, we couldn't be happier. This is our 10th annual, and I'm sure it's going to be the best. We've got the greatest weather conditions, I think, that you could ask for, and probably the finest field that we've ever had in this particular event's history.
Let's talk briefly about the drag racing history, Wally. It has grown by leaps and bounds in the last 10 or 15 years.
Well, it has been escalating. I think some of the conditions that have happened in this country have been responsible for improving it rather than restricting it. We're finding as production performance cars have more or less gone away in the automotive market, why it makes the drag racing field and a place to run cars and tune them and do things with them more valuable to people who like to do that and people who like to watch it. And so we've been experiencing a continuing growth in drag racing, and of course we now are the world's largest auto racing organization, and we think it's going to keep right on going up.
We now have an exciting new category, Pro Comp, and Dave, let's talk about that while we're watching the first racer stage.
This is a new category for 1974, Ted, and it matches up all types of cars. Here we see Wayne Ernst, and apparently he's having some problems as he's looking at his crew, and he doesn't look very happy, and taking off his fire gloves, you can figure there's something wrong. He drives what's known as an A-fuel dragster. It is an injected engine using nitromethane. His competition, who has the single run, is Dave Mack. He drives a gas-burning dragster, but is supercharged. They are handicapped on the basis of weight, engine size, and the type of fuel used. So you see all different types of cars. We'll be seeing matchups between dragsters and funny cars, supercharged cars against injected cars, and it really has provided some of the greatest racing seen yet in 1974.
In our second matchup, Ron Boggs in a Double B funny car. He'll be going against Don Girardeau in a Double A dragster.
Right, the Double B funny car designation indicates that it is burning alcohol instead of its big brother that uses nitromethane, such as you saw a moment ago with Don Prudhomme and Tom McEwen and the like.
And a good race, a good close one at 7.22 for Boggs, a winning time, 194 miles an hour.
And now remember, that car is running on alcohol. It is very similar, almost, in fact, it is identical to the nitro-burning cars. The only difference is the type of fuel used. You see how close the racing is. Here is Ron Boggs in the funny car, about a half a car length ahead of Don Girardeau, and Girardeau just almost caught him at that finish line point.
Jim Scott, a Double A dragster, in the right lane, going against Dale Hall, who will be in the left lane.
He's driving what we call a B-fuel dragster, Dale Hall. That is the conventional front-engine style dragster using an injected small-block Chevrolet engine using nitromethane for fuel. Jimmy Scott, the winningest driver thus far in Pro Comp, driving the supercharged dragster of Al Weiss from Canoga Park, California, on gasoline. Let's see how close this one is.
Another close one. 7:16 for Jim Scott, the winning time. 189 miles an hour. 7:32 the losing effort. 187 miles an hour.
The handicapping system here, by using the engine displacement, the car weight, and the type of fuel used, has worked out very well. Here we see a supercharged engine against an injected one, and less than 5 feet separating them at the finish line.
Ken Veeney in the right lane going against Jeg Coughlin, both driving Double B funny cars.
Jeg Coughlin is from Columbus, Ohio. He is driving a car powered by the late model Hemi. Veeney's Vega is obviously a Chevrolet Vega that is really brought down low to the ground, trying to cheat the wind as much as possible. It uses a Chevrolet engine, both cars powered by alcohol.
We have pre-stage. Should be an exciting race, and staged, and Coughlin almost loses it, swirling down the track, backing off when he saw he was having some difficulty.
Coughlin doing a great job of keeping that car from going into the guardrail, because with that fiberglass body, while he is protected very well, you can see right here, he heads right straight for it and just almost clips it with the tail of the car. The car swinging around now and starting to go into a skid, swings the other direction. He brings it under control, and Jeg Coughlin of Columbus doing a masterful driving job as Ken Veeney streaks on to a win at 7.30 seconds. That's the quarterfinal round of Pro Comp.
Moving right into the next category, Pro Stock Eliminator Round 2. And this will have Bob Glidden. He'll be in the right lane.
I think this is going to be Billy the Kid Stepp once again. In the right-hand lane, Bobby Ewell doing the driving. He is matched up against the AMC Hornet of Wally Booth. Here you see Wally Booth, who is the Gator Nationals champion. He won it back in March down in Gainesville, Florida. And the national record holder, Billy the Kid Stepp from Dayton, Ohio. Bobby Ewell does the driving. the Hornet of Booth and the Dodge Sport of Billy Stepp and Bobby Ewell. Should be a tremendous race here. Two very, very strong competitors. Motors brought up the RPMs and they leave the line together. This will be a close one. It'll take the electronic judge at the finish line to decide it.
Well, a close one indeed. No time for Bobby Ewell. Well, how would you explain that, Dave?
Well, it could be any problem, problem with the clocks, a resetting of the clock such as that. But the whole point of drag racing is it's he who gets there first. And as you can see right here, it is Bobby Ewell getting there first, regardless of what the time is. The only time plays any importance in it is when you're running in handicap racing as far as records go or as far as qualifying. In eliminations, it's the guy that gets there first.
Joe Satmary will be in the left lane against Dave Canners in round 2 of Pro Stock.
This is the other half of the American Motors racing team. Dave Canners at the wheel, Joe Satmary driving one of the big block Camaros, the 427 type cubic inch engine in the bigger Camaro.
We're watching them, Dave, as they stage, and in this particular category, they are blocking off part of the lane with device there to keep them from coming directly down the middle. Why would that be?
Well, you try to create as broad a path at the starting line of high traction area where the rubber is actually burned into the track, so you sort of work your way across the track and allowing the cars to do their burnouts and provide as much traction as possible. A great start by Satmary. He's done an outstanding job thus far at this event, and he does it here, 9.30. As I said, a great start. He put a hole shot on Dave Canners and won it, as Canners went much quicker to 9.23. You can see how close it is again at the finish from our finish line camera in the slow motion stop action. Less than a fender length separating the two cars as we move into the next pair.
That would be Bob Glidden going against Scott Schafferoff. Schafferoff in the left lane, Glidden in the right lane.
This is the classic Ford versus Chevrolet battle. The Pinto of Bob Glidden, Scott Schafferoff in the and see Schafferoff starting to roll right there. He rolled right through the light beams and gave himself a red light, which automatically disqualifies him, regardless of who's leading at the finish.
Glidden's time, 9.12 at 152 miles an hour.
Red light for Schafferoff, automatic disqualifications. You see him rolling early there, the reaction of his crew, the clasping of the head saying, oh no. Here we have Ken Dondero driving for Bill Jenkins. This is one of the first races in quite some time that Bill Jenkins has not been behind the wheel of his little Chevy Vega, but he's turned over the driving chores for this, the 10th annual Spring Nationals, to Ken Dondero. His competition from High Point, North Carolina is Roy Hill. Hill just completing his burnout. Jenkins out directing traffic for Ken Dondero, acting as crew chief at this event.
I wonder how he feels after having been the driver all these years. Now he's turning it over to somebody else.
Well, that's a very tough thing to do, I would think, Ted. You feel that you're really good. Dondero is one of the best. You see him concentrating here on the start. All important, the start. And a red light for Ken Dondero, a very, very strange occurrence for him because he normally is not one that will take tremendous risks, and certainly with Bill Jenkins' car, the performance capabilities, you just don't have to do it. 9:22, the losing time, the winning time, 9:51, and that is pure disgust and dejection. Bill Grumpy Jenkins.
And this is competition in the super stock category, one of the more popular events, as Ronnie Sirianni does a burnout. He'll be going against Butch Leal. Leal in the left lane, Sirianni in the right lane.
Ted, super stock racing is just what it implies. They are souped up stock type cars, similar to those that you see driven on the street. Here is Butch Leal in the 65 Plymouth, the Chevy Camaro of Bennett and Sirianni. They operate on a handicap basis where the slower car gets a physical head start. You see the tree counting down unequally there, and the Camaro with the lead over Butch Leal. This is where the catch-up comes into drag racing. And Butch Leal trying to catch him. Can he do it? The finish line shows he did just barely.
His time, 10.63 for Butch Leal to an 11.28 for Ronnie Sirianni.